the Kalahari Desert, Namibia. I'm here to find an extraordinary ancient tribe of people, the San Bushmen. Our research shows that their distant relatives left Africa and set in motion the family tree of mankind. From them stemmed every color, creed, and nationality alive today. Everything predicted in their blood seems to be written in their faces. It's like looking at a composite model of every face from around the world. The eye shape of East Asians, the high cheekbones of Mongolians, the mid-brown skin that could turn darker or lighter.
So the San, also called Bushmen, and these are very ancient people whose history in southern Africa is perhaps 40,000 years old or more, probably older than that. I would suspect more like 100,000 years. And now 10 or 15 years ago, showing this image, I would have said that that they look like East Asians, like Chinese, like Koreans, etc. But now I would say that East Asians look like them. And there's a good reason for that, because these folk like this are the original people of Africa and Asia, or at least very ancient people. And then we see something very similar with this San woman right here. And this is interesting because it shows that not all black people are dark. Some black people are naturally light-skinned. It has nothing to do with racial intermingling. Again, we're talking about the original man, the original woman, original humanity. Now, this image takes us to another part of Asia, and one of my favorite places in Asia. And of course, this black woman is from Cambodia. And specifically, she is called an Apsara. You spell that A-P-S-A-R-A. And she adorns the temple walls of the largest temple complex in mainland Southeast Asia, that temple complex being Angkor Wat. And this is what the images on the outside of the temple look like. Black women with what we would today call locks or braids, big, beautiful lips made for kissing, and the nose is knocked off. And again, this is very similar to what we see in ancient Egypt. We'll have to do a presentation at some point that focuses on the missing noses of African people. This image also is in the Angkor Wat Temple, but instead of the outside walls, this is in the Holy of Holies. This is the innermost sanctuary of Angkor Wat Temple. And this is a bodhisattva. This is a person who has received or who has achieved a state of enlightenment similar to the Buddha himself. But a bodhisattva is different from a Buddha in the sense that the bodhisattva has chosen to remain among the world of men and women to help others achieve enlightenment, achieve nirvana. And here you can see a coal black image with happy to be nappy hair and Africoid features. And this is how the deity is worshipped in Cambodia. This is my actual photograph. You can go there and you can see Buddhist nuns and Buddhist monks prostrate themselves before this deity. This is one of my favorite images from Southeast Asia, if not the world itself. And this image is again in Cambodia, I would say perhaps 10 miles from the Angkor Wat Temple. This is the entrance to an ancient city in Cambodia built by a group of people called the Khmers, who adored their beautiful black skin, burnished bronze skin, they call it. The city is called Angkor Thom, not Uncle Tom, but Angkor Thom. And I took this photograph myself. Now, and again, this is another really important image for me, Runoko Rashidi personally. This is an image of the Buddha from Vietnam, and this one is in a special museum in France called the Musée Guimet. This museum is devoted to nothing but Asian artifacts. And this is an image of the Buddha, I think from the 8th century AD. And I like this image so much that when I go to France and when I go to this museum, I actually come and speak to this image. When I see these images in the museums, it's as though I'm greeting old friends and family members of mine. Indeed, I think I'm an old soul too. But it gives me just tremendous pleasure and a sense of serenity to be in the presence of these images. Now, with these images, this next sequence, we look briefly at the original men and women of Southeast Asia. For example, this is an image of a black man from Vietnam. This is an image of a black woman and her 2 children in Malaysia, and specifically northern Malaysia. I hope to visit Malaysia in 2007, and this is just across the border. These are images of a black woman and her child in southern Thailand. So these are the original people in that part of the world. And then this one, of course, takes us to the Philippines. And all of these black populations, short in stature, make up the original people in that part of the world, and they are slowly disappearing. They're being absorbed into larger populations. It's interesting, too, that the last Miss Filipino, or Miss Philippines in the beauty pageant, was a black woman of short stature just like these. These people are commonly called negritos or ETA. These are pejorative words. The word negrito is a word introduced by the Spanish, which simply means little Negro. The word ETA is a Tagalog word. The Tagalog are the majority population of the Philippines today. It means filthy. We call them ACTA, A-G-T-A, and that's what they call themselves. And the word basically means simply the people, as if they were the original people. They are very clear about who they are and what their history is in the Philippines. And here you find from the Shang Dynasty in China an image of a tiger holding a black child. This is made of bronze. This is in the Chanucci Museum in Paris. This museum in Paris has nothing but Chinese artifacts. I have to give Europeans great credit for one thing, if nothing else. They stole a lot. You know, they are thieves par excellence. And it's amazing there are any artifacts left in the countries of origin. This is in the Chanucci Museum in Paris. This is called the Tigress. And it's an image of a tiger, bronze, Shang Dynasty, the first dynasty in China, protecting a black child. You can look at the features there. They do not represent the features of the Han Chinese. This is from east of China. Of course, this is an image from Japan. This is an image of Fudo Mayo, F-U-D-O, Mayo, M-Y-O. And the name means the immovable one. And Fudo Mayo is one of the 5 wisdom kings in Japanese mythology. He is patron deity of the samurai, the aristocracy of Japan. There are 2 proverbs that have been used to suggest an African presence in Japan, a black presence in Japan, used by no less than the great Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. This is also from Japan. This is an image of the Buddha. Of course, the story is the Buddha got his tightly curled hair like that. In fact, some people would even tell you that that's not the Buddha's hair. Those naps, those kinks, those knots on his head that seem so obvious to many of us. I was told at a museum in Los Angeles that the reason the Buddha has hair like that is because it was very hot one day. He was sitting under the Bodhi tree, and to protect him from the sun, these snails crawled up on top of his head. Now, I'm the sort of person that doesn't take anything lightly. I went to India. I went to Bodh Gaya. I found the Bodhi tree. I sat under the Bodhi tree for the better part of a day. None of those snails crawled up on top of my head. Perhaps I'm not as pious as the Buddha, but I wanted to test that theory. And even if there were snails on top of his head, I don't know how that would account for the black skin. Maybe he got sunburnt being under the sun, but he also got a big nose. He got wide cheekbones, or what I think Dr. Robinson calls, I think he refers to majestic lips and nose or something like that. The great Dr. Edward Robinson.